Hi, I'm Garrett with IDC Woodcraft, and I am so glad you have come to this video, especially if you use the Vectric software, whether it's Aspire, Desktop, or Pro. And you've done work with it for a little while. Now you're starting to get to the more complex stuff, where you're trying to import a bitmap and trying to figure out what to do with it. Like, I'm not talking about a plain old bitmap where you can use the trace feature. I'm talking about the bitmaps where the trace feature doesn't work, and you have to superimpose your work over the project to basically design it from scratch, but use the image as a baseline. This video is going to teach you the entire process of how to set it up, the thinking process of building it, and you're going to learn a shitload of tools in this video. I mean, you're going to learn a lot of stuff. It's going to be a long tutorial, but I can guarantee you are going to learn more in this tutorial than you are going to learn in watching 20 to 30 hours of YouTube otherwise. And by the time you come out of this, you're going to be an expert. If you are brand new to CNC routers or the Vectric software, subscribe to this video because I deep dive on this stuff to give you the real stuff. You know, most YouTube channels out there, they seem to be superficial. They don't give you the nuts and bolts that you need. That's what I do here. All right. Without further ado, we're going to dive in. You might want to jump onto your software and follow along and just do the same stuff I'm doing, and you'll see how this comes together. You'll be so proud of your work. All right, we're going to dive on in and get started. So let's go. I'm going to take this image here and turn it into a project. This is not something we use a bitmap tracing on. We have to do this by hand, and you'll understand this when we start diving into it. And when we're done, we will have this logo built up, where we have the fire department icons like the nozzle and the axes and the jaws of life. We have the hazard symbol. We've got some cool features. This looks like a shield, right? The rivets here and the words. Now that Etsy file, you'll be able to change the words if you have Vectric software. If you have an SVG, you'll be able to overwrite your own files on it. So again, the link will be down below. But this is a long video, so we are just going to start from the beginning and get going. I am going to let you know you can do this in Aspire, Desktop, and Pro. So we are going to grab a fire department image and import it in here, and we're going to draw it up by hand. The thing is the intention behind this video is to teach you how to take an obscure drawing or something that's not very crisp and clear, and to freehand it through Vectric using the tools and giving you the thought process of putting a project together. So first thing is we have to grab our logo that we are going to use. And I want to teach you quickly how to grab a logo that you can import and start working with. So you can go to Google and type up in the search bar whatever logo or image it is that you want. We are going to take fire department image because I was a firefighter for quite a few years and an EMT as well, and enjoyed it. And yeah, so it's kind of close to my heart. Now, the first thing I want to tell you is when you're grabbing an image and you see an image that's got a price on it, somebody's trying to sell that, right? They've done some work, and unfortunately, it's a habit for a lot of people to just take a snip of the image and create their project. And to me, that's kind of morally wrong. When someone has done some work, and they're trying to put something out there for you to use, and they're selling a vector, buy the vector. You know, I always look at it from my shoes. If I did the work and I put it out there, and somebody grabbed it and copied it and used it for their own use, I wouldn't like that, neither would you. So do the nice thing. So I looked for a fire department image that was not a vector, and I selected a fire department image that was not for sale. I took a particular fire department image, and I'll import it here just a little bit. But the way that you would grab your image, we'll just do this one. It's a pretty cool image. Okay, I clicked on it. It took me to Etsy. That means that this is a vector file. So we're not going to do that one. Very cool vector file. I'm not even going to show you how to do that one because of what I just said. We'll grab, let's just grab this one. It's very generic. Okay, so we have an image there. You can use your snipping tool, click that, and click New, and draw your window around that. And when you have that, you just save the image and save it as whatever, wherever you want it, and you are ready to go. And then you can import that image. So I don't need that one, so we're not going to use that one. Then we go into Vectric, and we're going to start a new project. So I start that, and when you start a project, you always get your job setup screen. And so we are going to select the single-sided. We're going to go with the 24 inches by 24 inches by 3/4 of an inch off the top of the material. And in this case, because a fire department symbol is symmetrical on 4 sides, we want to start building off center of this. So we're going to select the center radio button and select OK. To import your image, the bitmap, that's what you want to do first. You'll come up to File Operations, the last icon. It's a little folder with a little blue tab coming out of it. Select that and go to the directory that you want to import your image from. So here's the badge that I selected. When you select it, it comes in, it's got dotted lines around it, and it's fairly small relative to my job. So I'm going to click that again so I get these buttons over it, and hold my Shift button down and expand it like that so I can work with it. Now the reason I held the Shift button down is it expands from center. If I don't hold the Shift button down and grab that inner button, it'll expand from the lower corner or the opposite corner. So I don't want that. I want to expand it on center because, like I said, a fire department symbol is symmetric around 4 sides. Now, I chose this one because it's very cool. Looks like a shield, and it's got some cool stuff in it. You know, it's got these nice corners in it. It's got rivets on it. It's got some detail on it that just makes it look badass. So the first thing we want to do is, since this is symmetrical, we want to put it in position on the project so that it is on center. The first thing I'm noticing is this center rivet here is lower than the horizontal line. And I've seen it down here too. The rivet is to the right of the horizontal line. So we're going to move this image to the position that I want it to go. Now I can use the cursor buttons while the project is highlighted or the image is highlighted. You can see these purple dashed lines means it's highlighted. And I can cursor it up and around as much as I want and eyeball it into place, but I can't really tell when I'm that far away. So what we're going to do instead is I'm going to grab a polyline or a straight line using this button here, click it, and I'm going to turn on my snaps. You see these 2 buttons here, click them so they are boxed in. And while I'm in my line tool, I'm going to come down and let that snap onto that line, that horizontal reference line. So we're there, and now I'm just going to come over to the other side, anywhere, and let it snap there. I'm going to hit spacebar and do the same thing at the bottom. So I've clicked on the bottom and I've clicked on the top. And now we have a crosshair that we can set this thing up with. So I'm going to click the image. So it is selected. I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to cursor this guy up. So it's approximately on center. And then I'm going to fix it down at the bottom as well. So I'm going to use the cursor buttons. And I'm using the left cursor button. And it moved it over there. So we're in position. Let's take a look. So we're a little low there, which means the picture is rotated a little bit. That doesn't matter to me because we are going to freehand all of this or design it all. It's not really freehand. We're going to take advantage of the all the different features in Vectric. So you're going to learn a lot of stuff in this, and techniques, and you're going to learn the thought process of how to set a job up. So I'm going to bring that up just a little bit to try to split the difference between the two. We'll take a look at that one. Take a look at that one. We're pretty much splitting the difference. And we'll do the same thing up top if it's off, which it is just a little bit. So we'll bring that over just a little bit. And now we're splitting the difference between the top and the bottom. Okay. So we have that. So one of the things that you could try to do is use the trace bitmap feature. We don't want to do that because this is a more of a drawing type of rendering. There aren't clean, crisp lines throughout this. The transition from red to lighter red to the gold is fuzzy. There's a dark, shadowy line there. And so if we use the trace bitmap feature here, it's not going to come in clean at all. So we are going to build this from scratch. Well, at this point, we have learned how to import a file, and we've done a lot of talking about the image itself, got it centered up. Now we're going to get into the thought process ahead of time. What you want to do is look at your project and think about what do you want the outcome to be all the way throughout. Because if you don't do that, you're going to run into problems later in your design. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get to the thought process now, the pre-planning, if you will. So let's get into it. So here's my thought process when I go into a project that I want you to use. It'll make your life much easier as you progress into your design and when you do toolpaths. A project has different elements in it. We want to look at it in a way of what do we want to get out of it and what do we want to be able to manage independently from other elements of the drawing. So in this case, the first element is the outer boundary of the project. That would basically be the cutout. And I'll call that the body of the project. Then we have the lettering or the words. So if I wanted to make this for my local fire department, Madison, Indiana, that needs to be separate. So that needs to be its own entity within this drawing. And then we have the icons here, the jaws of life, the axes, the medical symbol. There's a little badge in the middle and some smaller icons there. So that's going to be another layer or another entity. We'll call that icons. And then we have another one, which is the rivets. So these are details. And there's another feature I want to add into this. I want to add a few V-grooves. You can see right here, there's like a dark band there. And then there's another band right here. So we're going to add like a V-groove line that goes around there. There's other areas that we have to think about. We have this jaws of life that have a lot of little features in them. There's the separation between the jaws. There's these little circles here that actually make it very distinguishable. And then this little pocket area there and there. So we want to keep all this into account. And then there's one other thing, the big element. What's going to make this pop out? What's going to make it pop is if we do some depth work or what we call pocketing work. For example, the jaws of life here. If we just carved lines out, I mean, it'll look nice, but we want it to be in more of a 3D effect. Same with the axes. So all the red areas are going to be what's called a pocket. It's all going to be cut down lower than the rest of the surfaces. So we've got several different elements to think about here. So what we're going to do is segment all these elements right up front so we know we kind of got it in our mind. And the way we do that is by setting up our layers right now. Now layers are like sheets of plastic that get stacked on top of each other, and each sheet has its own aspects drawn on it. So one layer or one sheet will have the icons of the jaws of life, the axes, and the medical symbol drawn on it. Another sheet will have the fire department name on it. Another sheet will be the outer boundary, and so forth. And the sheets are clear so you can see through them, so when they're all together you can see the entire object. But sometimes you want to get a sheet out of there so it cleans things up. So we're going to create those sheets or those layers by coming up to the layer feature right up here, and we're going to click that. Now you see that there are two layers up here. There's the Bitmap layer and layer 1. When you launch Vectric, layer 1 is automatically installed, and you'll be working on layer 1. When you import a picture like we did with the fire department symbol, it creates a new layer called the Bitmap layer, and that symbol is on that layer. So I now have two plastic sheets. And let's just say I wanted to take the badge out of the stack for just a minute. The way I would do that is this little light bulb here, you would click that, and now that image is gone. It's still in here. You just can't see it and you're not working on it. But you notice the crosshairs are still here because they are drawn on layer 1. Now the crosshairs are a construction line. So I don't want them on my main layer. I might want them there. I'm going to leave them there right now, but we are probably going to create a layer just for that. So when I turn the bitmap layer back on, we're going to start to figure out what layers we need. So the first layer is the body. What we can do is come up to layer 1, click it, and change the name to body. So we have that. Now we've got other layers. We have the text, we have the icons, we have the pocketing, and we have the details. So we're going to add layers by clicking add new layer. So we're going to just kind of run it off in our head. So click for the text, click for pockets, click for details, click for icons. And now let's start giving them the names. So we click layer 1, and we'll call that text. Click layer 2 twice, and we'll call that pocket. Click layer 3 twice, and we're going to call that icon. And we'll click layer 4 twice, and we'll call that detail. And we'll add another layer because we talked about construction lines. So we'll just add that layer. We're going to call it construction. Now we want to be able to segment between layers like colors. So when we're looking at it, we know it's on a specific layer. So what these black areas enable you to change the color. So for construction, I'm going to click the black box, and a color window is going to pop up. But we're going to give it an unusual color. We'll give it a bright green color. For the detail, we'll give it a dark blue color. For icons, we'll color them red. Pockets, we'll make it a darker green. Let me go to a darker green. And text, we'll make that, we'll give it a light blue color. And body we'll leave as black. So we are almost ready to go, but we are not on the right layer. We are on the construction layer. We're going to start drawing. So we want to get to the body layer. So open that up, click body. Body is selected there. The text is bold relative to the rest of the text, and it says body up here. So we know we are on the body layer. Okay, so now we've got all our basics set up. You've got all your layers established. You really know how you're going to start putting this thing together, and everything's centered up. Now it's time to start doing our first level design, which is the body of the emblem. You're going to learn some really cool stuff on how to make this work in a very easy fashion. I know this is a long video, I apologize. However, this is what it takes to do a design type of process to make good ones. Right? So that's why you need to stick with this thing. And we're going to get into toolpaths, all that, so we can get this all set up. If you're brand new to the Vectric software, subscribe. There's a lot of videos on this channel that'll teach you all kinds of aspects about it. So yeah, let's get back into this and let's design the emblem of this thing, the outer boundary, the basic level. Let's go. Let's look at this. So we have a crown on top, and then we have the identical crown on the side, another one here, and another one over here. So what we need to do is draw the first crown, and then we'll copy it around a circle. And this This is our circle we're going to copy around. So that circle has to be a baseline that we're going to be working from, and is part of the element of this whole project. It's the boundary of this pocket here. It's a boundary over here. What I am going to do is I'm going to blend this gold part up here into the circle here. So that'll all be one band, and it'll connect all the way around. So you'll understand as we go along. But we need our base circle, which starts right here. So what we're going to do is basically just draw a circle. I'm zooming in so I can get my circle close. My snaps are turned on. So we're going to use the circle command in Create Vectors. Click that. And just come down to the center where the two crosshairs intersect. Click our left mouse button, hold it, and bring it out to a point where the red meets the white. And we have it. So it's overshot a little bit. Now, one of the things when I'm doing this, the red area and the pink line do not show up well together. So I'm just going to escape twice so you can see the circle that we created. It's not quite on the circle, but that doesn't really matter because we are modifying this ourselves. I just have to think, do I want to make the circle a little smaller? I might do that. I think I will. So what I can actually modify this circle by clicking it twice, and a little radio button shows up around the circle. And I click that, and I can just shrink it down a little bit. And now we brought our circle in a little closer. So that looks good. Okay, so now we can start on the crown. One of the things I want you to notice is the crown half on the left is identical to the crown half on the right. So we don't have to draw the whole thing. We just need to draw half of it and do a mirror function. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Now I can start drawing a line from this part of the badge or shield and draw it up following this white line here. You see this gold line, by the way? That's going to be an added feature. I'm going to put a little V-groove around the inside of this. And we'll put another V-groove like right around here. It's just going to add accent to this. So we don't want to just draw a line up this side, because there's something we want to take into consideration. It's basically the size of this area right in here. If I'm going to cut this out as it is in this badge here, I have to make sure the bits I'm going to be using are going to cut it out. We'll just say I'm going to use a 1/4 inch end mill. So that means the width of this cutout has to fit the end mill. That means I have to create a space that's at a 1/4 inch or bigger. And so in order to do that, what we're going to do is make sure that's going to happen. Now we know this area here is 45 degrees off the vertical. So I'm basically just going to grab a line, the polyline tool, and we're going to come to the center of the project. I'm going to click once, so we have a line there, and we're going to swing up until our number next to the cursor says A equals 45. That tells me I'm at 45 degrees. And this is a construction line, by the way, but I'm going to leave it on the current layer because I only need it temporarily. I'm going to come up and extend past the shield and click so I have that line. So we are good there. And I'm going to hit escape, and we have that line. So in order to make sure we have enough room for a 1/4 inch end mill, I have to have at least an 1/8 of an inch clearance on this side of the line. So what we're going to do is use our offset command. Under offset and layout, you're going to pick the first box offset, select that, and you want to select the button outside right. what it's going to do, it's going to copy a line to either the right of the line or outside of a shape. So this will be outside right, it'll be right of the line. And we want to make sure we have at least half of the 1/4 inch bit distance that we're going to create. You'll understand this later, so please just come with me on this. So half of a 1/4 inch is 0.125. I'm going to give a little bit extra. I'm going to say 0.13, and we'll click Create. And now we've created a new line, and that is the boundary line of our crown. I'm going to escape. I don't need this line anymore, the construction line I just had. Now we're going to draw the curve along here. I could use the arc command multiple times, but I don't want to do that. I'm going to draw a curve freehand. So we're going to select the draw curve line and basically eyeball along the white area of this line as if it's just going to continue on until it intersects with that line that I just created. And I'm going to click. So I've started a line right there. And we're going to come down, and now what's happening is it's popping into certain places. I don't want it to pop into certain places. I want to be able to freely position each point as I move along. So what I need to do at this point is turn the snaps off. You wanted the snaps on to click on that line. So now I'm going to go along the white area and click. And watch what happens to this line when I click the next time. I'm going to pick my point, and now we're getting an arc drawing, which is exactly what we want. The tighter the curve, the closer you want it to be. As the curve spreads out, then you can get a little further away from the last pick point. We're coming into a tight curve here, so we're going to start getting a little bit closer, and the radius is reversing. So we're going to come up to about here. Now at this last point, we need to turn our snap on because we want it to select that line. So we turn the snaps back on, right up here. And now we can select the line, right about there. And we'll let it go straight across to see what happens. Now, I just ran into a problem. See how this comes back down? What it's going to do is go back up on the other side and go back down. So we're going to fix that very quick by selecting the line, pressing N for node, and we're going to grab that node and we're going to slide it up until we get a dotted line over in this area. And that's still not good enough, so we want to go up more. And it doesn't matter. We can actually just kind of go up to there. As long as this flag right here is perpendicular and it's snapped into perpendicular. Now the tangent point where this curve intersects this line is tangent, and it'll come back down nice and smoothly. And we can adjust our other nodes if we need to, but everything looks good here. So we're going to escape. And to turn the bitmap off briefly, that's half of our crown, but it's not complete because it looks a little funny up here, but we're not going to worry about that yet. Because we're going to draw the other side of the boundary. We're going to do this edge now. So now we can take this line that we drew and we are going to click it twice. And now you see dots showed up here, here, way over here. What Vectric is doing is creating a rectangle around that line at its maximum elements. There's also a dot in the middle, right there. What you want to do is hold your control and your shift down and hover over that dot. So you have the 4 arrows. Click your left mouse button and hold. And now we have created a copy. And we're going to drag it over and put it on the other line. And so now we've created the inside boundary up on this part. It's not going to work up here though with this one. I'll show you why. I'm going to click that one twice. We have our dots. We're going to hold Control and Shift down and hover over that middle button and bring it down. And you can see our curve does not really match what we have. Actually, it's not so bad. It matches some of it, but not all of it. So we can do a little fixing up on this by selecting that line, hitting Node, and start moving our nodes around. When I move my nodes around, I always turn off the snaps so that I don't get impeded by it trying to select its own lines. Come down there, we're going to come down here, and we want this to twist that way. So I want this one to twist. What I'm going to do is drag this one over past this little V, because we're going to put that V in our project. But I want this to be perpendicular to wherever I draw that line at. So what I'm going to do is leave that alone for the moment. You'll see what I'm going to be doing here. I'm going to draw a line for my V. So I've escaped. I'm going to turn snaps back on. Go back to polyline. And take a line, and we're just going to draw it down like that to create a wedge. So now we've got a funny shape here. We got lines doing funny things. How do we fix this? Get your scissors. Select that. And start cutting lines from the end. And we're going to just cut it right there, and we are ready to go. Now we have our shape. And let me show you what it looks like now by turning this bitmap off. So you can see this is starting to come together. All right, so you have seen how we have started to actually construct this. And this is going to start to fall together in a really cool way. But we have to finish up this half of the crown, and then you're going to learn how to utilize the mirror function and the circular copy function. Very, very handy tools that work really well with this kind of project. So if you're liking this, give me a thumbs up. And I've got to give hats off to you. You're sticking around. We do have a long way to go. But by the time you're done, you are going to know a lot more about design work and the thought process in it. So let's get back into it. We're going to turn the bitmap back on for a moment. We want our bands to be complete. Now, I did not draw something. I did not draw another circle. I need another circle right here. So I'm just going to put that in place right now. This is stuff you can do. There's no particular order on this. I'm just saying it's part of the main body of this gold area. So I want to put that in there as part of it right now. So I selected circle, went over the middle with my snaps on, and I'm just coming out to draw that circle. And I'm eyeballing it to make sure it kind of falls into where I want it to go. And there it is. So now that circle is in place. My inner band is done. And I think we're almost ready. Let's turn our bitmap off. Then we're going to start cleaning things up. So what we'll do is grab the scissors again. And this is where it starts to look like something. We're going to start snipping lines from the outside inward. And there, and there. So now you see it's starting to come together. All that construction line looked like a mess, and now it looks like something. But it doesn't look right up in this corner. Basically, it's not going to work with that sharp corner. You'll break your wood when you try to cut it out. Router bits can't get that far into such tight angles. So what we're going to do is just round that out right now by selecting the Edit Objects area under Fillet. Third icon down furthest to the left. And you want to have normal fillet selected. And pick a radius. I'm picking 0.05. And just hover over the corner and click it. And so now we've gotten rid of that. Still a little bit of a, that'll still be maybe an issue. I'm going to bring it Control Z. I'm going to change that to a 0.1 and see what it looks like that way. Okay, that looks better. We're going to exit out of that. We're going to look at our project. And I think we're about ready to mirror things. However, we've got a couple details to take care of. We have this rivet right here, which is also on the far corner here. So we're going to draw that rivet right now. The first thing we're going to do is switch our layers. So we're going to click that and go to the details layer, which is where the rivet's going to be. I click that and highlight it up here. And I'm just going to select circle and hover over this, and voila, we have just created our rivet. You can see it's blue, so now we can tell what it is. Is there any other symmetry that I need to get in here? There actually is. Remember I said we're going to add a little V groove along the gold line there? So we're going to add that right now. That's going to be part of our details. So we're on the detail layer. I'm going to select this line. I'm going to click offset, and I want it to be on the inside left, and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to put it 1/8 of an inch on the inside. So we're going to type in 0.125 and click. And now we created our baseline for our accent. Now I'm going to do the same on the other one. This line right here. I'm going to select that, go back to offset, and I'm going to do it on the outside right. Select, and so what it did it on the inside. And it's kind of hard to explain why it did that, but when that happens, just Control Z, select the opposite one, and click it again, and it'll show up the way you want it to. So I've got my accent lines, but I don't want them to go all the way across, all the way down. So we're going to clean these up a little bit just by drawing some lines right there. And I want my accent for the little V groove accent that comes around this one just to stop right maybe here. So I'll draw another line, go right across there. And I'm going to use these as cut lines. I hit spacebar. And this one, I don't think I want it to come up and down. Maybe I do. I've got an interesting little feature there. We'll go ahead and leave that like that for right now and see how that shows up. I'm going to close and use the cut feature. And I can see this blue line is crossing into the circle. If I cut the line here, it's going to leave this part of that accent line there, and I don't want that. You can see it's going to interfere with our words. So I'm going to Control Z that, and I'm going to start on the other end, right over here, here, and here, and I cut the line up to that line that I drew right there. Then I want to eliminate it there, and I want to eliminate it up here. And you can see that line is actually going across, so I'm going to cut it there as well. So we're going to escape, delete, and let's see what we have for our accent lines at this moment. So we're going to turn off, we're going to turn off the bitmap. Then we're going to turn off our body, and there are our accent lines. Now obviously I've got a little hash line in there I'm not going to want. So we got to go in and get rid of that. So I'm going to select it and delete. So we've got some of our features drawn up. There's one other accent that I want. Do I want to come up to a point here when I've got a radius over here? I'll probably just leave that there for right now. Let's go back to the bitmap, and remember I was going to do a little V groove accent right here. So we'll select the circle and do the same thing. We're going to go to offset, inside, and our number is already set, and you click create. And it created that line. I want that line to be a little bit further in from the circle. You can't see it. There we go. I'm going to move that line. Now, look at that. We've got a little vector right there. This is where you want to be really careful. That little line that was right here was from that detail line I did before. When it offset, it crossed over this circle here. That's why we try to do things a batch at a time. I'm going to click this circle, and I'm going to just make it a little smaller. I double clicked it. I'm going to grab the little button here and just Control Z. I didn't hold my shift down. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to back up several spaces, get rid of that circle, get rid of that little tab there, click this line again, go back into offset, and I'm going to make that 0.15 an offset. And it moved it in further. I know it's hard to see on this screen because of the dark line that's there, but here's what we just drew. This line right here. Okay, so we are ready to start mirroring things. So we're going to go to the body. We're going to click that and make that the active layer, and we're going to turn off the bitmap layer. And we are going to mirror these items right there. So I've selected them all, and I'm going to go to the transform objects and select the mirror function. Select that. And in this area, what you want to do is have this checkbox checked. Flip about job center. This crosshair defines the job center. So we want this part of the crown to copy over here, and then we want it to flip off that center. And we're going to flip it horizontal. The other thing you want to make sure is checked is create a mirrored copy. If that box is not checked and you try to do this, watch what happens. I uncheck the box, and let's get back into it. Hit the wrong button. There we go. And I hit, I've got that selected, and I flip horizontal. Now it just copied it on the other side, but it eliminated the one on the other, on the original one. So Control Z, have this box checked, and flip horizontal. And there we are. We now have our crown. We're done with the details right now, and no, we're not. We have a rivet right in the middle here. So I'm going to close this. Turn the bitmap back on. So we have a rivet right here, and a little bit of a ring type of feature there. And I don't know if I want to add that in there or not. We might not. So I got to get another rivet here on the detail layer. So we're going to switch over to the detail layer. A lot of thought that goes into these more advanced projects. I'm turning off the bitmap layer. I'm going to select that rivet twice. Hold Control and Shift down and grab the middle button and drag it. What I did is it left the original and it made a copy. So we're going to drag that copy until it snaps onto the middle line, and we're going to place it on the vertical where we want it to be. So we'll put it right in the middle. And now we are getting really close to being done here, but we got one more thing we have to fix before we can create the rest of this. And we are very, very, very close to this. So you're going to like this at this point. We need to make sure that our vectors around this area here are all connected, as well as the vectors around the outside. When you mirror, it's going to make a copy, but it didn't merge the vectors. So you'll see when I click this one, it highlights, but it doesn't highlight this one. So we have to join these two. So what I'm going to do is hit Shift button, select that line. So now both of them are highlighted. And we're going to zoom out for a minute because I want to make sure everything is selected around that crown we just drew. All right, we got it. So anywhere on your screen, right-click, come down to Join Vectors, and you can join your vectors with a curve or a line. Now that is one vector. I can select it, and the whole thing is selected. The same goes for this one down here. You can see it's not connected, so we hold Shift, select the other one, right-click, join or close vectors, and close vectors with a line, or you want to do that one with a line. And we're going to zoom in just to make sure. So we are good to go. I'm going to hit Escape. I'm going to select the line just to verify. We are good. Whew, that was a long stretch, but we are about to create this whole body now. So we have a fire department emblem. So this is cool. We are going to do the circular array function now. All right, let's just keep on going. So we're going to create the badge, and I'm going to tell you a firefighter story. I'm selecting from the lower right, lower left, and I'm making a window so I encompass everything and it's all selected. Down under Offset and Layout, select Circular Copy. We have everything selected. We want to create 4 crowns that rotate with that circle. In order to make sure that happens, we have to have this checkbox checked. You see this little image right here where all the little rectangles are facing inwards. What that's telling you is that as it creates copies, it's going to rotate the copies based on a center point. If I uncheck this box, everything is up and down. That means it'll rotate around the center point, but it won't rotate the objects, meaning the crown would copy around the center, but it'll always be in the same orientation. We want it to rotate. So we're going to select that box. We want it to rotate, and we want 4 copies. So that's what goes in this box here. There's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's going to be around the full circumference. That means 360 degrees will be our total angle. And we want it to rotate around the center point. That center point is 0, 0. So we need to make sure these 2 boxes say 0, 0. That's defining our center point. This one's X says 0, Y does not. So we need to change that to 0. And you click Copy. Close that. Click off to the side. And there is our basic badge. Now I am going to turn off the details layer. First we're going to select body and turn off detail. And there's one other thing we have to fix here. If you remember that this gold band is going to be a part of the circle gold band. So I'm going to select, everything is turned on here. I'm going to turn the bitmap back off. And I'm going to take my cut tool and, oops, close, I picked the wrong tool, the cutting tool. And we're going to cut those elements. So Control Z, it miscut there. So something's going on. Control Z, which tells me it didn't rotate properly. So I did a design error in here that I have to fix. So what I am going to, God dang, this is frustrating when this happens. Because now it's not dead nuts concentric. And it's because something was put in off center, and it's probably the original circle that I put in right there. So I'm going to fix this really quick. Here's how you fix this. It's frustrating when that happens. I'm Control Z. I'm going to close that. I'm going to create a brand new circle. I'm going to snap to the middle, and we are going to come out past the current circle. That's right to there. And look at what's going on. This is how we troubleshoot things when they show up. Because I was really trying to be careful with this when this happened. Because it happened to me the first time I shot this video. So what I'm trying to do is figure out what is off and how to fix it. So here's how we fix this. It looks like the circle itself, I think, is pretty good. Here's what we do. We grab everything that we just did. We're going to turn the details back on. And we are going to grab all of our details. So I'm going to grab that one. I'm going from left to right. I'm going to hold my shift button down, grabbing that one, that one, that one. And any features that it did not select, I'm going to reselect and work my way around. One more. And then I'm going to click it again and check it out. Make sure it's on center, which it is. So that tells me that my circle was off center. Okay, so that's good to know. That means all I have to do, I can check the circle by clicking it twice and looking where the pick point goes. There it is. So all I got to do is just move that circle over, which is good. Phew! That scared me, because that meant I would have had to stop this video again and work on this. Now I'm going to check these other circles to make sure they are on center by double clicking them, making sure that center point is on the center point. Check that one, click it, and that one's off. So we're going to move that to center, and I'm just going to check this inner one again, and that one looks good. Okay, so this is the kind of stuff that happens when you're right in the middle of a project and you see there's a major error that you've made. How do you get around it? Well, you troubleshoot it and try to work with it. So everything else is looking good. Okay, let's turn our details back off, get back to where we were. We are on the body layer, and now I'm going to start cutting. We're going to cut there, 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 there. Whew! I got a little frustrated because I got way into this video, and I had issues I found later that I had to restart the whole thing, and you can tell this takes a long time. So there's our basic firefighter badge with our pocketing features. These are pockets, remember that? So we're going to move that to the pocket layer right now, but we got an issue. I didn't catch this before. We got to join these. So we're going to select that one, and we're going to come over to join vectors or close vectors and click it twice. And we're going to do this to all four of them. So just select, click join vectors twice, select, join vectors twice, select, join vectors twice, and we are good. These go over to the pocketing layer. So select each one of those. I'm holding shift button down. I'm going to right click, move to layer, pocket. So this just lets you know I am not perfect, right? Even good designers have issues they have to resolve. Now you see these changed color to a green color. All right, I'm going to take a break for a moment because my throat is very scratchy, but I do want to tell the story first. It was the very last fire run that I was on. I was on a fire department for 7 years. It was all volunteer. And I was getting to a point where it was time to move on in life. And I was the engineer on the first engine out. Now the engineer is the driver and the person who is running the pumps on the truck. that feed the fire hoses to the firefighters who are actually fighting the fire. And we got the call, and it said there's entrapment, and that there was a child trapped in the fire. And when a firefighter hears that, they go into ultimate high alert, ultra fast moving. And you can best believe within 3 minutes, everybody was at the fire station gearing up and trying to get the trucks out the door. I lived right across the street from the fire department, so by the time people showed up, I already had the engine running, doors open, ready to rip. And we got down there and pulled to the fire hydrant, and ripping the fire hoses off the truck. We have what we call jump hoses, where you're jumping off the truck and you're pulling a hose right away. I'm charging the lines. And we hear there's a 4-year-old stuck inside the house. So we get to this house and there's flames coming out of all the windows. And this house was what they call balloon construction, meaning that there's no separation in the walls from the floors. So when a fire reaches the walls, it works through the drywall and the outside wall and starts to come up to the second floor. So there's no fire barrier. And we found out we couldn't get in there. We couldn't get her. It was too hot. Everything was on fire, and we lost Katie. Katie Wells was her name, little 4-year-old. That was my last fire run, and that's devastating to a firefighter when you lose a child. Very morbid time. That was 25 years ago. And it tears me up right now because we couldn't save her. That's the life of a firefighter, right? We love firefighting and going into burning houses, but we don't want to lose kids. We don't want to lose anybody, but kids is what really breaks our heart. All right, so I'm going to take a little bit of a break, and then I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. And after that sad story, we are going to move on. So we have got our basic elements down. Remember I said about the pocket here? Well, this inside is a pocket as well. So we want that to be green too. So we're going to change that to the pocketing layer. So we're going to right click, move to layer, and we're going to select pocket. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this. Okay, this is a challenging project. A lot of stuff goes into it. Now I've gone a bit slower for you, so you see what I'm doing, but you can tell already it's fairly complex. Now we're going to start getting into the utensils. We're going to draw up the axe, and we're going to draw up the jaws of life, and we're going to put a new emblem over the medical emblem. We're going to get rid of the medical emblem altogether. This is where it gets a little fun. I mean, it's fun already when you know how to do it and you see your project start to form. So let's get into the artwork now and have some fun. Let's go. Now, first thing I want to do is go to layers and turn off the body. And I'm going to turn off the text. I'm going to turn off pocket, and we're going to select the icon. So that's the active layer, you know, by it popping up here. Construction layer is on. And there's one thing I see here that we have to work with and modify, and that's going to be this medical symbol. The wings come across this, which means that would add another element of depth to this whole thing, and I don't want to do that, so we're going to remove that because it's medical, and we're going to put firefighter stuff in there. We're going to impose a firefighter's nozzle for the end of the fire hose. So we'll get to that in a little bit. I want to show you some cool stuff. We're going to outline the axes. We're going to draw this thing up with details in it, and then we're going to import that in there. So let's take care of the axis first. And the way we're going to do this is we are simply going to freehand all of this. We're going to draw one axe, and then we're going to mirror it. And then we'll add a little bit of detail to it. Then we're going to work on this Jaws of Life. And we're going to add the detail to it. And then we'll import an image in here and draw it up. So let's get to working on the axes. So I don't want the snap features turned on for this because it's all going to be freehand. So I do want one snap turned on. I want the which one do I want to turn on? I don't remember. I think I want the smart snapping on, and I'm going to turn the first one off. We'll find out in a second. Most of this is curved lines, so we're just going to use the curve command, which is going to be draw curves. We're going to select that, and we're just going to start somewhere on the line. And we're going to click it, and I'm going to click there. And remember with the curves, you want to draw a curve where radiuses change and start that as another point. So now we don't know where the handle is, but we're just going to go right over here. Okay, so I've got the wrong snap turned on. I'm going to turn that one off and turn this one on. What that's going to do is allow me to, if I have to end the line, I can pick up back at the point of the line. So I'm just going to snap right here, come up to here, and we're going to come up to this point here. And I'm going to hit the space button. Now I'm going to escape from that. And now our red line is drawn. I'm doing red on red. I apologize about that. Didn't think about that. And we're going to go back into the curve function because we're going to start a new line. And the reason I did that is because I want this to be a corner. And in order to do that, I have to stop drawing. I'll explain this in just a moment. So what I did is I just picked that point back up and started to draw here, here, and we're just starting to follow our radius up to here, and we're going to create another corner. So we have to end. So before I go on, I want to show you what I mean by corner. I'm going to hit N, and I'm going to select this red line. You see there's a black node there. Whenever we're doing curved lines, it's going to be blue nodes all the way around. But this is a sharp corner where the handle meets the axe. So I want it to be a black node. So I basically have to stop drawing that line and start it over again. And the same thing is going to be right here with the corner of the axe. Now that would be a small radius there, I think. But we're going to make it a general point. So that's why I did it. I wanted to get a black node there. So we're going to go back into draw curve. And we're going to continue on. We're going to pick up this point of the axe. And you know what? This is actually an arc all the way up. So I'm just not even going to continue on. I'm going to go over to the arc command, select that, and it's going to restart the line. I'm going to pick that end point and make sure it picked it. And I'm going to come right up here to this end point, click that, and then I'm just going to create the arc of the axe. And that curve is done. So now we're going to go back into the draw curve, select that, pick up the end point, and start our curve. And I'm picking points where the arc seems to transition into another arc, or curve, I should say. And once again, we're coming to a point where we want this to be a new node, so we're just going to select that line. We're going to escape and select it. We're going to escape and select it again. All right, so it's not working right. There we go. There, select it again, and it didn't finish that up, so I have to start that over again. So we're just going to do that. Drawing sometimes can be a challenge. It can be frustrating. You're always learning stuff as you move along. You never stop learning. Hit space bar, and I'm going to start that line up again. So you just hit the space bar. You don't have to exit out of it. And pick your lines up again. Now, this part of the axe is going to be a curve because it is part of the axe, so we just made a couple points around it. And same with this one right here. I'm just going to pick a couple points around it. And we're going to come over there, and we're going to hit space bar again, and we're going to pick that point up again. So I hope you get an idea how curves work when you're saying draw curves. We're going to have a very nice shape with this when we are all done. And I feel a sneeze coming on. Excuse me. Bless me. I've already been blessed. I've got you, right? Okay, the first axe is almost done. So now I got a tight curve here, so we're doing several clicks. Same with this one here. You can see how the axe handle curves back in. And then we're just going to pick up that end point. And I'm going to hit escape, and we are going to turn the badge off. And there is our axe. Isn't that cool? That's all it took. Now I'm going to click the axe. I want to make sure the entire axe gets selected. It didn't. So we need to start connecting lines again, which is frustrating. So you hit shift, you follow the same thing. You want to join vectors with a line or with a curve to get everything joined in. And I'm going to try to speed up this part of the video as we do this. I was thinking that maybe I could show you some new stuff, which I'm doing right now, but I wish sometimes this stuff just went a little faster. Now, there's a little bit of a goofy spot right here in the axe. It gets a little fat in the handle, so we fix that. Hit the node button and come in and select your line, and then just drag that area in. That doesn't look good. And we are ready to go. So our axe is done, looking good. And all we have to do, based on the badge, is mirror the axe from one side to the other. I'm going to show you a little cool thing after that. So I'm going to take the axe, highlight it. We're going to go back into the mirror command under transform objects. And everything is going to be the way it was, where it's going to mirror a copy and leave the original, and we're just going to flip it horizontal. And there's our axe. Now, we see there's a little bit of a problem here. We're really close right there. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to get out of that, select the axe, and I'm going to rotate it out a little bit. Just like that. And now we'll go back into the mirror command and go like that. Now we got a little better thing going on here. Okay, so close that. There's an issue here that we have to get rid of. On the image, when we cut, the axe has to be one solid object. So we're going to use the cut feature and get rid of the areas where it crosses over. I'm holding the left mouse button down, just going over it. If you do that, select the axe, everything should highlight, and we are good to go. There's a couple other features we want to add to this. If you want, like a line here that would indicate the separation between the handle and the axe. It would go here as well. And then to make it look like one axe is laying underneath the other. So that would be a detail. So we're going to switch to detail layers, and we're going to turn it on. So I'm going to select on and hit the detail. And I'm going to just use a line to fix that. So we'll make this axe the one that's on top of this one. It's very simple to do. Just draw a line, not completely across, just like that. Space bar. And do it on the other side. You just try to get a best eyeball on where it connects, where it would connect. So we've got that, and then we'll do the separation of the axes and the handle. So put one there to there, and we'll do another one from here to here. So now now it looks like that axe here, when it gets carved, will be laying over top of this axe here. Okay, the axes are done. That's pretty cool, isn't it? This coming up with that. It was fairly quick, but now you understand how to build that up. All right, now we're going to get into the jaws of life, and this gets a little interesting. It's actually fairly quick, but we're going to be working with details and the icon shape at the same time. So we're going to be bouncing back and forth between two layers to get this built up. Then we're going to mirror it and get everything attached. So you're going to learn a little bit on this one as well. Let's go. Let's get on to the jaws of life now. We need to go back to our icon layer. Click that so it's highlighted. Then it says icon up here. Turn the bitmap back on. And what we're going to do is draw half of the jaws since it's perfectly symmetrical. So we need our base reference line, which will be, I'm going to turn the details layer off. You see the details layer still showing up here. So we want to turn that off. We'll come back to that in just a minute. Just getting things out of our way so we don't accidentally mess up with things. So I'm going to draw a line right down the middle of that jaws of life. There. And I want it to be perfectly horizontal. It's not, so I need to turn on my other snap so it'll pick up a vertical line, perfectly vertical. So I clicked and escape, escape. The line is a little bit off, so I'm just going to click it once so it's highlighted and move it over with my cursor buttons. It's hard for you to see. And there it is. And that's going to be my reference line. That should actually be a construction line. So we'll just right-click it and move to construction. Okay, let's start drawing up our jaws of life. We are going to do this with a line. Everything's pretty much a line. So we're going to use polyline. Our snaps are turned on. And we're going to come right up here where the jaws come together. We're going to start drawing our lines. It doesn't have to be perfect in this case. And just drawing various lines. Now we've got a thing going on here. We got a segment here, so we're going to add detail to that. I'm going to taper things out a little bit instead of going square cuts because the machine's not going to cut like perfectly square things all the time anyway. But I'm going to follow these lines and we'll see how this actually pans out when we're done. So this is pretty simple here, but we're going to add some detail to it as well. And I am going to just do it like that. And we'll come down. We're not even going to worry about the little tab at the end. And we're going to finish it off right there. So let me show you what we just drew is the body of the jaws of life. That's the body, and that's on the icon layer. Now, before we flip it or do a mirror copy of it, we are going to add some other features to it. We want to add our details to it. So now we're going to turn details on, and we're going to switch to the detail layer by selecting it. So it says detail up here. And we're just going to go and turn the bitmap layer back on as well. So we've got several details. We got these circles. So basically we're going to come in and just draw circles, right? As best as you can figure out how to draw them to your best eyeball that you want. So 1, there's 2, and there is 3. We've got a little bit of a shadow right here. I'm not going to worry about that. We've got a little box right in here. So I think we're going to create that box. It's got like a radius on the ends. That might be noticeable. So I'm going to draw another circle off that construction line. I'll show you again because I know this is hard to see. So I'm going to turn the bitmap layer off and show you what we have so far. So bitmap layer is off. And you see I'm starting to build up some design in here. So I'm going to turn that back on. We're still in the circle mode. And I don't need to be circle mode anymore. Now we've got a couple of lines to indicate other things. So we got this little box right here. And so that's going to be a detail as well. I'm going to draw a line. I'm not going to draw a line yet. Will I? Yes, I will. So we're going to draw a line using the polyline. Just come up here and generally follow the shape like we've been doing before. Space bar. We'll do it again for this one. Come over to there, and we're going to do this one here. So this is going to be generally tangent. So I'm going to just pick a point that's almost tangent, and I'm going to connect it to this circle. Now I'm going to hover over the circle and hit T. And that just did a tangent line that attached to that circle. So did you see that? We just detailed out one side of this thing, and we did a tangent line. So whenever you want to do a tangent, you hover on the side of the circle you want your tangent to be at, and you hit T on your keyboard, and that line will snap right to that tangent line of that circle. Let's keep going. We're going to cut out the rest of the circle. So we have half of our shape. Cut in there, and I'll cut in there. And now we are done with this guy. Now we can mirror it. That was that quick. Now we're going to have to join vectors again. But we now have half of our jaws of life. So I'm going to select that, but I don't want, I've got to get into a point where I select it all. But I don't want to select the green line. We're going to go into mirror function, select that, and we need to flip about a line. So we have to select this green line last. So that was my bad. So we're going to reselect. We're going to exit this, reselect the jaws without selecting the green line. Then we're going to hold shift down and select the green line. And now we go into mirror. There's a little feature you're going to learn. And we're going to have it flip about a line. We're going to select that. And what Vectric knows that the last line you picked is the mirror line. So we click that, and now we have our jaws. Now we just need to join vectors. We don't need this construction line anymore. We're going to delete that. We have all bunch of vectors to join, so we're just work our way inside to out. So I'm going to do the cutout, right click, join. Well, we'll just join vectors with a. We're going to go over here and join vectors with a curve. I'm clicking that twice. Then we're going to select this one, and we're going to join vectors with a line. Select that twice. We'll do that one. Join vectors with a line. Select that twice, and we are good to go now. So our jaws of life are done. That was pretty quick. It's when we put the nozzle in that's going to be the issue. It's going to be a little bit more tricky. We have to get a little creative. So first, let's import the nozzle image. So we're going to import a bitmap. I already did a search for a nozzle that I wanted, and it was this one right here. And there it is. And what I get to do is I've got two bitmaps on now. I've got the nozzle bitmap and the badge bitmap. I'm going to click the nozzle bitmap again. I'm going to click it twice, and then I'm going to drag it over to here. Now you can see right away, how do I fit that in there? Well, I'm going to rotate that around like that. And it looks like it's still too big, so we have to shrink it down. And we need to shrink it down some more. Now you can put anything you want in these things. Just to me, the medical badge doesn't belong. This is a fire department. Yes, they do medical stuff. But that's what we're going to roll with. So we are going to do the import bitmap feature, and then we're going to fix things up. We could draw over this, but it's going to be so complicated to do. To draw vectors over, we're going to take advantage of the bitmap trace feature. But first we want to get onto the right layer, so we're going to go to layers and go to icon layer, get that active. Then we're going to go over to trace bitmap feature, select it, and now we have a nozzle. So I want to just toy with the grayscale a little bit. We want our nozzle to look good. I mean, it actually looks pretty good in this image here, but I think it's going to come out a little funny. Okay, that's better. All right, so I took out some of the questionable stuff. And basically, we're just going to come down. We're going to preview. We've got it. Looks good. We're going to apply, close, and we're going to turn off our bitmaps. And there is our nozzle. All we have to do is a little doctoring up. So we're going to take that out. We're going to take some of this noise out. So we'll take that out, and we'll add a few features to it because we have features here. We want features over here as well. So I'm going to take all these little bits and pieces out of the middle because these are just things that we don't want right now. They're just little cuts that Vectric put in there that are in our way, and they don't do a whole lot. Okay, so we've got that. We've got that. We've got that. Everything on the inside is gone. You see we got a lot of noise on the handle here. It's very easy to fix. Select the line, hit node, and just create a window. Come down to your lower left. Create a window going all the way up into the noise. Select a bunch of vectors and hit D, and you will lose most of that. But now this looks a little funny on the corner there. So I am going to Control C. Control Z and just change my location where I'm doing that at. Hit D again. And I'm going to hover over this one and hit S. And I have to select these two and hit S. There we go. So I changed our nozzle. We'll get rid of that noise by hitting D. We got a bunch of noise up here. We hit D. D. We don't need so much of this stuff. And then I'm going to select these two and hit S. And pull this one out just a little bit. So you see how we're doctoring this up as we move along. And I think we're going to delete that one. So I'm going to hover over that one and hit D, and that one and hit D. We're looking good. Looking good. We got our finger grips over here. I'm going to keep that. And this is going to be kind of a weird line. What I want to do is create a detail line. In fact, this is where it's time to start getting into our details. This is a weird cut that's not going to work. So we want to get rid of that. So highlight those vectors and hit D and D. And we've got not vectors, I mean nodes. We got another one here we don't need, D. So let's take a look at our image. Bitmap. Okay, so we have our handhold. We've got this little element. So we want this nozzle lever to show up a little bit better. So we have a node there that these little corner nodes, we don't want them. They're just weird little angle nodes. This feature right here is not going to work for us. We're going to draw an arc in there instead. So we're going to just take those out. Okay, Control Z. We're going to get out of node mode by hitting escape. And then we're going to select those guys and delete them. Oops, Control Z. Escape. There we go. Delete. And we're just going to take our curve line. We're going to get onto our detail layer. And then we're going to draw a curve. This is going on for a long time, so I got to hand it to you for hanging out. And we're just going to follow along a little ways to try to create this handle. This snap is getting in the way, so I'm turning my snaps off right there. And we're just going to click it around. And I'm going to hit space, and I'm going to create another one right down there at the bottom of the lever. space. You'll see how this comes out in just a little bit. And then we want this, some of these features to show up here, these serrated features. So I'm going to go to arc. First I'm going to draw an arc. And I'm going to start the arc right here to get the arcs into the nozzle end. Click right there. We're not going all the way to the end. We're just, so these are enhancements to the drawings that we're making. We're just working it our way around on all these areas. And you'll see how this comes out. It'll come out very cool. And this helps make everything stand out, just like it did in the Jaws of Life. Okay, so I got several arcs in there. I'm going to put another one right here. And I want to show you what we have so far. Close. I'm going to turn the bitmap off. And now we're getting our nozzle built up. So what I don't like is this line right here. There's something missing, and it's a line coming across that way. So we're going to add a line there that goes just like this. That follows along with the nozzle, and just stop it right there. Now we got a little bumpy area right there. We want to get rid of those nodes. So we're going to get rid of a couple nodes. Delete, delete, delete. They're a little more realistic. We'll get rid of a couple more. Delete and delete. All right, that looks better. Now we've got the nozzle up here. So what we're going to do is we are going to create an oval, use the oval command, and do our best to eyeball this oval. So we're just going to create an oval shape. We've got it. We're going to escape from noble oval, get that, rotate it, and then we'll just put it in position. And there's our oval. Now there's some serrations going around this thing. Do I want the serrations? I don't know if we need the serrations, but I'm going to get rid of them. And we'll see how this feature looks, if we need to add it or not. I can already see it needs that character. I'm not sure how to do that. But there's our nozzle. I want to add one more thing, a line right down here to distinguish the end of the handle and the start of the nozzle. Okay, let's take a look. All right, I like this. I think this oval needs to be down a bit. That looks good. That looks good. So we can put our what we can do is we can create little rectangles. I'm not sure I want to go through this. If I was to make a full-blown, which I will, the finished vector that I create will have these serrations in it. So I'm going to leave it like that. We are really close to this thing now. Let's turn all the layers on to our project so you can see what we're looking at now. I mean, basically all we're missing now is the text. So at this point, you've learned a lot of little process thinking, some of the errors, and you've even heard me get frustrated at it, and how to place things in different layers. So we're almost done designing this thing, and then we're going to do our toolpaths to show you how this looks when we're all said and done. Now, I forgot something in here that we need to do. I've got this long area here, and if you remember in the beginning, I said we got a circle right here. So this cutout is going to come down to that circle. So let's just get that taken care of. We're going to go back to the body because that's where that's at. And we're going to pick our center. I'm zooming in because now we got a lot of things close to the center. And I got to turn my snaps on. And there we are. And we're going to come out to that point, which I'm going to assume is about right there. And I want to make sure that my circle is on center. So I exited out and clicked it twice, and there's my little bead. So that's looking good. The circle's a little bit taller, but that's okay. We're going to turn the body off, turn Bitmap off, and we're going to start trimming things away. So I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to cut that and that. We have to do the same all the way around. Oops, when you do something like that, just Control Z. I tried to do this in trying to find a nice, organized way to approach this. When you're dealing with something that's got a lot of variation to it, sometimes you have to just come back, but it really helps to try to project what you're going to be doing in the beginning. So I got out of cut mode, and now I'm deleting the rest of that circle that was left over around the drawing. Okay, that looks better. Now what I can do, I could have done, is maybe do a pocket in here, but let's see what this thing's going to look like. So what I'm going to do now is let's just generate a toolpath and take a look. I'm just thinking, you know what? I'm going to undo everything I just did because I want a pocket here. So I'm going to Control Z, 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 all the way back to this original point right here where everything comes back in. So I'm Control Z in. There, we are back. What I'm going to do is place a second ring in here that's going to leave a dead spot. You'll see in just a moment. I can't explain it until I actually do it. So we're going to come back in on that corner, and we're just going to come out. Roughly there's good enough. Okay, so we'll close that now, and we're going to come back and cut all that out again. So we're going to cut out the inside, inside, outside, 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 outside. Yes, that's it. You will understand exactly what I'm doing in just a moment. I just went backwards. There, 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 there. Okay, so now I have to go back and delete this stuff. Whew, this is a long project. Well, we're about at the end of the design phase where we get into toolpaths. The last thing we have to do are put the words on this thing. So I'm going to teach you how to put the words on there on a curve. I'm going to teach you about a bug in Vectric, so you know how to get around that bug, because otherwise you're going to get frustrated when you put words on curves. So let's dive in and get the words on there. And by the way, that file, the vector file, is going to be available on Etsy. You can edit the words so you can put anything you want on them. All right, let's go. We're going to put words up top and words on the bottom. We're going to say Madison Fire Department. I'm going to create a circle, start it on center, and it's going to come out to there. And I want that circle to be bigger, a little bit bigger. What I'm doing is I'm visualizing the text in here and how it's going to be balanced out. So I'm holding Shift button down, I'm grabbing that button, and I made the circle bigger. Okay, so now we go into our text mode. And we are going to enter in Madison. Let's see how this comes out. So capitals, Madison, and I am doing this with, I'm going to do this with Times New Roman, and I want to keep something, help you understand something. Start with Times New Roman because the other fonts do weird stuff. So start with Times New Roman with what I'm doing, and then get into selecting your font after you have it picked up. So what we're doing is we're placing the font generally where it's going to be to see how it's going to fall into this pocket, and it's still too big. So we're going to shrink it down. I have to close that. And we're going to shrink it down to there. Now when this text wraps around, it'll be about there and about there. And we're going to wrap this text right on that circle. So we've got Madison. We're going to use this text on curve feature, which is very, very cool. But first, you have the text selected. Now you want to select the circle second, and then hit text on curve. Bam! And there it is on the curve, exactly how we don't want it to be. This is where it gets a little screwy. I haven't played with this enough to figure it out. So just try some of your different settings. I'm going to do above curve, below curve. Now the text is upside down. So we're going to try mode left. Okay, that's not where it goes. Right, left. There's a way that we can get it to flip what it's doing. Okay, so I'm getting close. I'm grabbing a little green button to swing it down. And we want this to go below the curve. And left. Text on the other side. I'm trying some different options. There we go, and then we go above the curve, and there it is. Whew! Sometimes that takes a little work with that. So we're going to swing it around, not like that. We are going to swing the text around by grabbing a little green button, and we're just going to rotate it to where it looks good. And I think we're about centered there. Okay, see the letters are getting very close together, so we need to separate that. So we're going to close that and use the edit text spacing feature. Select that. And what that's going to do, when you select between the letters, it's going to bring them together. Now, if you hold your shift button down, it'll take them apart. So we're going to open up this gap a bit between these letters so our bit can make it through there. And I'm going to close the gap on the N and on the O. And that looks a lot more balanced. And it's going to be able to work itself out a little bit. Now, we just need to do department. So we're going to select the text again. Oops, we have to just click up here and start over. And the Madison was highlighted, that's why I did that. And we're going to say caps locked fire department, period. And where's my text? There it is. And we're going to select that. Now, that text is big, right? I want it to be roughly the same size, but it's going to have to be a little smaller, which I don't like because it just changes things a little bit, and that means tighter tools. So I think I'm going to take the decimal point out of that as well, the period right here, because it's going to be an added feature that I just don't need to mess with. We know what fire department is. Close, and I think that's going to work. We'll use the text on curve feature again. We have to select the circle, and now put it up top. And we are going to grab that and find that little green button and rotate it around. And we want it to be on the other side of the curve. So we're going to flip below curve. So we got that selected, and we're going to just swing our fire around until it is about what we want. And I can go with that. Now we can change our font. The reason is the font will be really skewed if you don't start off with New Times or Times New Roman. So I'm going to select, let's try just Arial. So I'm going to type in A, just put an A in, and no, I'm going to have to scroll down to find the Arial. Select it, and there it is. And then we're going to select the Madison and go with Arial again. And there that is. It looks like Madison is a little off to one side. So I'm going to move it over just a little bit. Okay, my friend. Just get rid of that circle. And our badge is done. All right, we've finished the design. I hope you've learned a whole bunch. We're going to start getting into the toolpaths now. So you know how to take this to the next level and actually complete the project. But first, I'm going to take a little break and I'm going to let a little break pop up. So give me a chance to pee, okay? And when we come back, we'll get into doing the toolpaths. You're doing awesome. You're here, you've been following along, you've been picking up all these little tips. I hope you've given me a thumbs up and a comment down below already. And if you don't have router bits at this point, if you're like brand new to CNC, I have the complete set that you need, right? Nobody out there has complete sets of router bits. Companies don't do that because they know that you're going to have to buy them piecemeal anyway eventually. And I thought, I had the same problem, so I figured I was going to solve that problem, and I did. So there's a link to a complete set of router bits down below, and I'll give you some extra stuff, files to start you off, videos that train you how to work with the stuff. You get all the bells and whistles. We don't need those big guys, right? Okay, I'm going to take that break, and then I'll be back, and we are going to take care of the toolpaths. Okay, we are back with, we're now going to get into the toolpaths. Just want to make sure that I am off of pause. All right, this is where the fun begins. Now we get to create our stuff and how we're going to go through this toolpath stuff. So this is where a little more logic comes into mind. What's the approach? Think about the bits you're going to be using. So I know that in this project, I see a problem. You see this nozzle? It comes very close to this pocket here, and it'll probably not pocket out. Remember I have to fix that part right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this whole thing and just move it. I have to grab it like that. And we're just going to move it over a bit to get a little bit of space in there. There we go. That's better. So we're going to take care of all our details first. All these little lines and what have you. So these, the majority of them are going to be done with like a 60 V-bit. We're going to come around here, we're going to add these accent lines, except for the rivets. We're going to make them a little bit different. We're going to pocket them a bit, I think is what we're going to do. Okay, so that means we're going to work on that first. We're going to take care of our V work first, and then we're going to go into our other bits. So we're going to go over to the toolpath area by selecting this little arrow button. A lot of people like to use the little pull-out tab that shows up right here. I don't, because we're not in toolpath mode. We want to get into toolpath mode. So use this button right here to get into toolpath mode. Now we're out of design mode and we are in toolpath mode. Now let's get rid of all the other noise. So we want to turn everything off. This is, now we don't have to worry about being on layers. We just want to highlight the layers that we want to work with. So I'm turning off everything. except for our details. And look at that. So we've got a bunch of lines all around. We got the rivets. We have the little lines. Now these rivets, the thing is, this is so easy to do, but the rivets are going to make it a little bit of a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the rivets on their own layer. So we're going to select the rivets. I'm going to hold Shift down. And select all the rivets. I didn't really anticipate what I was going to be doing here until now. So we can manage the rivets by themselves. I've got them all selected. Right click, move to layer, add new layer called rivets. Enter. Okay, now we're going to turn the rivets off. Just click off. We're going to turn the rivet layer off, which is down at the bottom. We don't need that. Now we just have the detail layer on, and we're going to select everything. And we're going to go into the profile toolpath, because all we're going to do is draw or scribe lines. We select that, and we'll do this with a 60 V-bit. 60 is good for your general detail, finer detail. So 60 is actually already selected. And we're going to make our depth very shallow. It's going to be a 0.03. And we want to make sure everything is on the line. And that's all we need. Come down here and we're going to name this detail. And we're going to put 60D in there. That way we know what bit we're using and we're going to calculate. And now we have a scribe there. Well, the first thing we want to do is color the lines. So we're going to color them black. So you select this toolpath color and then select this little drop down feature and select the color that you want. And then we're going to run the toolpath. And there it is. So it doesn't jump out at you right now, but it will jump out at us later. It'll add to this whole thing. Let's do a split screen because now we have to select some other things. So we're going to select the next bit. And the next bit is going to be, we're going to work with an 1/8 inch bit. No, I'm going to work with a, let's turn on some layers for a second. We're going to turn on our bitmap for a moment. I want to see what we're going to work with. So we're going to use the 1/4 inch bit to pocket out everything. And then we're going to switch over to an 1/8 inch bit, and then we're going to have to go back to a 1/4 inch bit to do our cutout. So we're going to do our pocketing first of our rivet holes, and then we're going to go pocket the other elements. Now we can put the rivet holes with these pockets. I could have done that, but I didn't. So we're going to turn that image back off. We're going to turn everything off, and we're going to turn rivets on. And there's our rivets. So I'm going to come back over to the toolpath area, close that. We're going to go to pocket mode. I don't know if the 1/4 inch bit will work on this, but we're going to try it. And we're going to select our bit. So we're going to remove the 1/8 inch bit and select a 1/4 inch bit. And we're going to go a 0.1 deep. And go with that. We'll leave it set on offset. And we're going to call this rivets. And 1/4 EM for 1/4 inch end mill. And we're going to calculate. And it says nothing selected, so I have to go in and select all the rivets. And then we're going to calculate. And we're going to run the toolpath. And the rivets showed up. We're going to color the rivets so we can see them. We're going to color them black as well. There are our rivets. Excellent. Okay, rivets are done. Now the next one is the big pocket. So we're going to turn off the rivets. We're going to turn on our pocket and our detail. And the reason we're going to turn on details as well, I'm sorry, not details, icons. Icons are going to be boundaries inside that we don't want to carve around. So we're going to go with that. And we're going to select everything. And we're going to select the pocket command again. Now here we are going to need to add a bit. We're going to have to do a bit change. The reason is because I'll show you why. We're going to go with a 1/4 inch and we'll go a 0.1 deep. And we'll stay in offset. And we're going to call this pocketing 1/4 EM. Calculate. Nothing. Let's see. This is ignoring unusable open vectors. So I have open vectors somewhere. Let's see where they're at. Okay, so the open vector was here. The open vector, it shows up immediately when we do something like this. So we have to go back into our drawing to fix that. Now you see all this is toolpath markings that's in there. We want to turn that back off, and we got to fix this one drawing thing. So this little icon right here is called toggle toolpath. Hit that and it goes away. Now we've got to deselect and find that guy, and there it is. That's why we have to have closed vectors. So we're going to select the other one. We are going to right click and join vectors with a line, and we're going to do that one more time. Okay, it's good. It's grayed out right there. So we're going to go back into that toolpath. Let me zoom out. And we're going to hold our shift button down and select that bit, that tool, that jaws of life, and we are going to calculate once again. Now we're going to run the toolpath. Let's change the color to red like it is in the image. You'll see why. Look at that. We are getting very close. So we have our hatchet layover. We've got our hatchet separation. We have our line there. We've got our details here. And we've got our details carving up through here. And we have our details here, but you see there's an issue right there. There's an issue right here. And there's an issue right there. And same with the hatchet handles and the jaws of life. There's a couple of ways we can handle this. We can make them a little smaller, or we can add in a second bit. Now there's something I missed, the lettering, right? So that makes this, we've got to do some work still. Yeah, this happens to me too. That's why we want to plan ourselves out in advance so we can kind of catch ourselves as we move along. This is very detailed, right? So yeah, we just miss stuff. That's why Vectric is such an amazing software. It shows you when you're missing stuff. Yeah, with this display, the toolpath display. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. Put the words back in so I can cut this out right. All right, so let's turn on the text. And see why the text didn't show up. Where is the text? I got to find out where the text is at. So I think I've got it on, okay, it's on body. So we have to move that text. So we're going to just click the text, shift click the text, right click, move to the text layer. And then we're going to turn the body layer off. We're going to, now we have everything again. But we still have this issue here. We're going to solve that by doing this. We have to go back into the toolpath, reselect everything with the text. And because we have these sections here, and we're going to have it with the text as well, fact, I'll show you. I'm just going to rerun that now that we have text selected. It's almost the end of April and it's snowing outside, by the way. Okay, we're going to want to reset this drawing and preview all toolpaths. So you see fire department didn't come out very nice. Madison didn't come out very nice. This stuff didn't come out very nice. So we're going to have to go back in there and do a bit, add a bit. So this little box here, we're going to select. And we're going to select the smaller bit. We're going to select the 1/8 end mill. And we're going to rerun this. Now what it's going to do is going to run the 1/4 inch and then the 1/8 inch. So it's going to be a bit change. We don't like to do that, but that's part of doing all this stuff. We're going to rerun this toolpath. We'll rerun all of them. And we have to change the color on that. So highlight that and make that color red as well. And now the fire department looks good. We have separation right here. We can see our handle. We can see Madison. There's a little bit of an issue in the lettering there, so we'll probably have to upsize the lettering. There's no more separation there. The hatchet handles are in good shape. This is going to take a while to run. Of course, the whole intention is to teach you how to think about this. Let's take care of the last thing, which is the body. So I'm going to select that. Well, we got one more thing. We've got these pockets there too. So that was called, what layer did I have them on? I got them on the body layer. A lot of thinking to do with this stuff. So I'm going to select that, that, and that. Uh-oh, I wasn't holding my shift button down. I have to go back into the pocket layer first, so we got to go back into the pocketing. And then we have to select, hold shift button down and select those with it. And then we can rerun it again. And run it. Run all toolpaths, and there it is. Looking good. Okay, let's do the outline. So now we're going to close that. We're going to go into profile. Going to select that, and then we're just going to select the outer profile. We're going to change it to outside. We're going to profile it with a 1/4 inch. I'd actually rather do this with a 3/16. So I'm going to do it with a 3/16 inch. Why would I go to that? Is because I can get a little more detail and it's still a strong bit. And we're going to change the depth of cut to Z equals, which is the thickness of the material. And we're going to call this cutout. And that's going to be 3/16 end mill. And calculate. And we're going to run that toolpath. And there's our fire emblem. So the only other thing I need to do to make this available is I'm going to upsize these letters. You can still edit them. And you can change them by going into the text mode. And I'm going to add these little features on the nozzle. And I think that's what I'm going to do. So the question at this point in this recording has been going on for almost 2 hours. So I'm going to stop instead of importing this onto a flag. Okay, that's it. I was going to actually show you how to put this onto like a flag, but that's another hour and a half. We're not going there. I want a beer by now. Okay, if you're brand new with CNC routers, then sign up to this channel because I teach all the basics about the CNC routers, the design software, Vectric software, or the concepts, right? You don't have to use Vectric, but the concepts of how to walk through this kind of process. If you're brand new, you don't know what router bits you need, there's a link down below for that complete kit with free files. And what else? This vector file, it's available on Etsy. And yeah, go down and take a look at all the links. And I just want to let you know, I'm getting contacted by companies all the time. Okay, I guess because I'm getting a little more popular on YouTube. They want me to sell their stuff, so they give me all these discounts. I'm going to pass them directly on to you if you're on the list, because you get first dibs when you're on the list. That's it. Subscribe and everything else down below. This is Garrett. I will talk to you next time. Happy CNCing.